Once you've ruled out the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be true.
And it is not a question of a little occultism or a touch of mysticism, Mr. Denton. It is vampires, and there's a host of damned souls at Pelham House.
Thy father's spirit, doomed for a certain term to walk the night.
Here, the old gods aren't dead.
And what of the true God?
He's dead. Can't complain.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
You're listening to Paranormal UK Radio.
Welcome to Paranormal UK Radio, the flagship show on the Paranormal UK Radio network. I'm your host, Irene and Mark, and with me tonight is my co-host and my sidekick and my tea-boy, Marky Johnson.
Hello.
Hello, Mark. Did you like the tea-boy bit?
Tea-boy, yes. I don't know what a tea-boy is. I know what a tea-bow is, but for Americans...
Tebow?
Yeah, American
What's
sports.
a Tebow?
Tim Tebow. I think he
Who's
plays.
Tim Tebow?
I plays American football or something. I'm not a sports guy either.
Oh, well, a tea-boy is somebody that goes and fetches my tea.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, but there you go. You know, he fetches everybody's tea. He's the runabout. Tea-boy.
Okay.
That's a bit silly, isn't it? What have you been doing with yourself, Mark?
Oh, been just busy, working. Putting together a new show that we're tentatively looking to premiere next week called Forbidden Reality.
Exciting.
Yes. I will be the host, and each week we're going to be tackling different topics of the paranormal, but coming at it from the aspect of getting past the old brainwashing and current society ideas of what constitutes reality and we're getting to the meat of what's really going on. And we'll cover everything from regular paranormal to not politics, but certain different ways of looking at, let's say media manipulation and how people are pushed and pulled and led to go down certain paths that they think they have free will, but they really don't. So, it's going to be a really good show, and we're going to start off with a couple of pre-recorded episodes, but if it does really well, and if you all like it, I'm entertaining the idea of doing live shows with call-ins. So we will see how...
With what? Call in.
Yes, live callers.
I thought you said with Colin. I was going to say, who's blasted Colin? I don't know Colin. Call in.
Okay, call-ins, yes.
Call in, yeah. Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. No, that sounds really good. I'm looking forward to that. And I think you'll do well.
Oh,
I really do think you'll do well with
thank
it.
you.
Especially if you're telephoning me during the day, Irene. What's this? What about this concept? What do you think of that concept?
Well, if you're nice to me,
do well.
If you're nice to me, you might even be on the guest list, so.
Oh, no. No, you know what I'm like. I don't go as a guest on a show.
Uh-huh.
No.
Well, you know me. It's not grilling you for information. It's us like what we normally do, having our conversations and talking about topics. So think of it, like, instead of being a guest.
My brain.
Yeah, instead of being a guest, be it more like guest co-host. And I'll have different guest co-hosts each week to discuss these topics.
Well, maybe once.
Oh,
maybe once, and that's it. Just once, because you know what I'm like. I hate doing radio shows.
Yeah, you're really good at this one, though.
Yeah, but this is different, isn't it? This is hours. But I don't go on as guests on any other shows, as people will notice that I do not do shows.
Well, you don't need to.
Anyway, getting past that.
You have your own network, so we don't need to worry about that.
That's it.
So we have to ask for an update on Gertie, the paranormal pup. I guess she's been feeling a little under the weather.
Yeah, she's I did tell you, didn't I? I don't know whether I've told people or anything like this, but I thought she got stung by a wasp because all her shoulder puffed up and it was all fluid and everything. But afterwards it went really, really rock hard. And then it all broke out all down her shoulder and down her leg. So I thought maybe she'd be allergic to wasp or something. It could have been a wasp. Anyway, we don't really know what caused it. And she's been on antibiotics and anti-inflammatories for the last couple of weeks. And now for at least another 3 months. But not to the dosage that she has been on. You know, we're cutting down the dosage, but she's going to be on antibiotics for at least 3 months. And I've got about three months supply out in the kitchen. And I just got to keep an eye on her. Her glands were up as well, her lymph glands, and that was a worry. But last time she was checked, which was last Saturday, they'd gone down a bit. So hopefully it's not anything to do with her lymph glands. There's still a lot going on with her at the moment, but you know what the diva's like, takes it all in her stride.
Well, I certainly hope she's feeling better.
Yeah, she's still eating, still snoring, still farting, and still...
Typical English bulldog.
Yeah, typical English bulldog, yeah. You know, she's not playing as much as she was, which is a bit of a worry, but I will see how she goes.
Okay.
So I suppose you can tell by my voice that I am worried about her. You know, I'm not into jumping around at the moment and one thing or another. So, yeah, I've got to worry about her. Anyway, getting back to the network.
To the network, yes.
Yes, the network. Now, we were talking about 10 minutes ago about something?
Yes, we were. And we wanted to put out there for everyone that we are expanding. We're constantly growing. And right now, it's a lot of work between Irene and I and Andy, who works with us. So we are looking to expand and bring on some extra help. So if you're anybody out there who is interested in broadcasting and radio and is wanting to get in on an internship and assist us with help keeping this program and our network going, then please contact us. You can go to our website at paranormalukradionetwork.com and send us an email to info@paranormalukradionetwork.com. Let us know you're interested, and we'll get in touch with you because we certainly could use some assistance in helping everything from scheduling shows to advertisement, marketing, and lots of different opportunities. So definitely let us know, anyone who's interested. And we'll be putting out some commercials and some other ads on social media to let everybody know as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting work. It is, folks. So anybody that's wanting to join us, you're so welcome. I tell you, you will be so welcome.
Yes. Yep.
Because we are knackered.
It's a lot of work running a station.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. I really do need a big crew to run this one. And like we said, like you said, we're expanding. We're growing and growing every day.
Yes.
So,
looking forward to it. So anyway, right. Why don't we get on with the show?
Okay. Do you want to introduce the guest?
Yes, our guest is coming back to the show. Was recently on earlier this year. We have Nick Hayes, who's the author of Quest for the Invisibles. And Nick, thank you for coming back on the program.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Irene.
Hello, Nick.
Yeah, it's great to be back on. Thanks for asking me back on. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's lovely to have you, I tell you. We enjoyed the last show. We really did.
Oh, so did I. So did I.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've been pretty busy yourself lately, Nick.
Well, I've got this upcoming talk down in Cornwall at Truro. There's a Cornwall UFO Research Group's 21st Annual UFO Conference, which is being held on Saturday, 13th of October. So I'm doing a talk down there along with Neil Geddes Ward, Guy Needler and Kaz Clark. So if anyone's interested in that, the doors open at 9 a.m. The first talk's 9:50. a.m. till 6:30 p.m. and then it's at the lecture centre, which is Truro College. It's organised by Dave Gillam.
Oh,
So,
brilliant.
If you go to the website, the Cornwall UFO Research Group, you'll see the advertisement for the 21st conference. So all the details are on there.
Well, Neil Geddes Ward is one of our radio hosts. You know that? From the the Paranormal Peep Show.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was on that. Yeah. He does a lot of work, Neil, doesn't he? He's a very, very busy man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's a lovely man, and he really does know his stuff. So this is a conference, and it's to do with solely UFOs.
Yeah, the Cornwall UFO Research Group's conference is just about UFOs. So I'm going to be doing a talk entitled "UFOs: The Hidden Reality," and Neil Geddes Ward is going to be there doing a talk, and also Guy Needler and Kaz Clark. The doors open at 9 a.m. and first talk is on at 9:50 a.m. and it all finishes at 6:30 p.m. The tickets are £30 on the door or £26 in advance. But that's held at the Lecture Theatre at Truro Naval College, and organised by Dave Gillam. So it's going to be a really good event. So I hope it's going to be a good turnout. So if anyone's interested, just pop down to Truro. It's a 4-hour journey on a train for me.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, but it's not too bad. I can get straight from Oxford straight. Well, I've got to stop off at Reading for a little while, half hour, and then get on another train and get down there. But I'm quite looking forward to it. I haven't been down there for many years. It's that part of the world.
It's a lovely place. Truro itself is absolutely lovely. Really nice place in Cornwall.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I've just been doing the fine-tuning for my presentation.
Have you?
Yeah, it's going to be purely about UFOs. I won't be mentioning any of the other phenomena that I've caught. It's just purely sort of things in the sky, invisible phenomena in the sky. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's great.
Yeah.
And also, I'm going off with Ben Emily Jones. I don't know if you remember telling you last time, I had an experience with some strange bipedal creature. Yeah, well, it was stalking me, and I ended up running like mad, But I went back there, did a video with Ben Emily Jones a couple of months ago, but now the nights are drawing in. We're going to sit there and plonk ourselves in the dark on a blanket and just sit there filming with 3 different cameras. Ben's got a night vision camcorder. I'm going to use a full spectrum camcorder, and then my infrared camera as well. And we take a Geiger counter, and we're just going to sit there in the middle of this spooky woods and just see what happens.
Well, Nick,
sorry, Mark.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to ask for clarification if you could tell us a little bit more.
That's what I was going to say.
And share with the audience what exactly happened that last time, and how was it stalking you afterwards?
Well, the thing was, I'll just go over the story quickly. Yeah, I used to have a jam with a band I was in, and lived down at Cowley. And to get down to his house, I had to get a bus journey, and get off down the road called Cowley Road, and then walk all the way back up Cowley Road to where he lived. But there was a shortcut that went across the golf course and went through Lye Valley. And it was getting quite dark one night. I missed the bus, so I decided just to go take the walk. And as I got down into the Lye Valley, all the light went, the little bit of light that there was. And I was walking along, and suddenly I started hearing a crunching about 20 yards to the left of me in the pitch dark. I couldn't see anything. So I stopped, and this thing stopped. And I stood there for a second. Then I started walking again, a little bit faster, and this thing started walking again. And I stopped, and again it crunched. It made an extra couple of crunches. So I started getting really nervous. So I started sort of running a little bit, jogging, and I heard it keeping up with me, and it sounded like it was going to come off on a path that was coming out in front of me. And so I stopped again, and I heard another crunch, and then it went like that. It made this hair stand up on the back, on the back of my neck. I had the fight or flight, and I just ran like hell. About half a mile run straight back home. And then I got a bus down to my mate's house, but it scared the life out of me. And Ben and I went down there. This was kind of when the nights were a bit lighter, and we just did a sort of little video, which is on YouTube. It's on the Panwo site, and we had a look around, and it's a lot more overgrown. It's probably going to be even more creepy when we get down there. But we're going to do that not this weekend, but the weekend after. We're just going to go down there when it's dark and just sit there in total darkness all night, filming and using a Geiger counter, and just see if we catch anything or record anything strange down there. But I mean, I just hope I can run faster than Ben, actually, if anything does go down. So.
Well, did you ever find any footprints or anything that would indicate what it was that was stalking you?
No, we found the place where it happened. There's a little brook, and there's like a little bridge across it, but it was very, very dense, the woodland. So I don't see how anything in the pitch dark could follow me for 20 or 30 yards through that thick bush. there's like dips and bits where there's like river sort of like tributary type bits, and it's really hard. You trip over unless you had sort of some kind of night vision, and you could walk very, very softly. So this thing definitely wasn't an animal, and it sounded bipedal to me, and it was mimicking my footsteps, but I kept catching it out by suddenly stopping, and he didn't realise, so it made an extra crunch. And that happened like 3 times, and in the end, when I heard the growl, I thought, oh gosh, so I just legged it basically.
Well, that sounds like typical Bigfoot activity that that people have described over here. They've gone out being in the woods and they've heard these things, something bipedal, like tracking them, matching their steps and movement, following them out, yet always staying hidden. And, you don't really hear about that happening that often in the UK, although, we have done shows and talked about these types of creatures possibly being in the UK.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, Deborah Hatswell got to hear about it, because when I recorded the first story about this, when I was telling Ben about it during an interview he did at my house, which was on the internet, and Deborah Hatswell got to hear about it, and she put a video up about my experience, and quite a few other people said they'd had similar experiences, and a lot of them were tree surgeons and people that were working out the way, and they were up in trees and they heard growls and things. So it seems like a few people have heard similar things, but I think of it, to me, it got me that scared. It was more like, to me, a supernatural thing rather than a physical thing. I don't know. I mean, it did sound physical, but it's just something very eerie about the whole experience. I mean,
Nick, I've had this in the middle of London, where something's been mimicking my footsteps walking up a road.
Well,
and that is a built-up area with houses and things like that.
Well, so is this. This is right in the middle of Oxford, really. It's just a little valley that goes down and goes across the golf course.
There was nothing like a valley, a street where people live, where you're walking up the pavement, and I could hear this thing. This happened several times when I was up there. You could hear something mimicking your footsteps coming up behind you and one thing or another, and I just turned around. There's nothing there, and I just give it the magic words, F-O.
Yeah. I had a funny thing. I was sitting down at the bottom of my stairs because I've got some outside stairs that go up. I was sitting in the garden, and this was going back about a year or so ago when I was having all that mad stuff going on, things moving and doorbells ringing. And what happened was I was just sitting there smoking a cigarette, and there's loads of leaves on the ground, and all of a sudden I heard something running towards me. And it really freaked me out. I just basically got up and went back upstairs, trying to not feel the fear. But, I took a load of photographs, ended up with some red orbs in the trees, and it was a very, as I said on the last program, that was a very scary time. After Roy died and all that, I kept getting those weird photographs. There's a lot of strange stuff happened, but touch wood, it's been okay now for probably about 6 months now. It's, I've not really had anything of note. I mean, the doorbell did ring the other morning at about 3 a.m. It rang. If anyone rings my sister's doorbell, it rings upstairs in my place, and she heard it ring, and I heard it ring, and there's no way it was any physical person who did it, because you can't get through all the security gates. So there's definitely still strange stuff going on around here, but I'm not feeling the fear that I did before.
Yeah.
My dog is, though. My dog Lucy, she starts panting and freaking out and looking around, but I give her a massage every night and calm her down, and she sleeps at the foot of my bed.
Yeah.
But they're very sensitive animals, as we said last time.
Well, there is definitely something paranormal. I think there's definitely something paranormal in these footsteps. What they are, I don't know. It's. I really can't make it out, but I've heard it several times when I've been on the. Well, it sounds great, doesn't it? This sounds great when I've been on the streets of London.
Let me take you by the hand and I'll walk you through
yeah, when I've been either working the streets of London.
back in the Dickensian times.
Yeah.
Olive Twist and the rest of them.
But, I have heard several times these footsteps, these invisible footsteps. And talking about paranormal stuff, Mark, and all the lights were on downstairs. Now, I know I turned them all off because I am a fanatic in this old house for making sure because of the old wiring in part of the house. And today, I don't know where Mark is.
Mark is right here.
You there, Mark? Oh.
And today, right now, I run 2 packs. I've got 2 packs of dogs here, and I can't mix them because they will fight with each other. Okay.
Leader of the
Yeah.
pack, then.
Yeah, definitely a leader of the pack. Anyway, so these two packs never ever meet. I've got 2 back doors, so if they go out one back door, then they come back in. They're kept in separate parts. Well, one that I let 2 of the dogs out, the 2 that won't mix with the pack. And they went out and came in, and I locked the door. I shut the door behind them, fed the dogs, then let the other pack out the other back door on the other side of the house, and got them in after they'd done their business. Now, the ones out in the garden could have gone through there and absolutely ripped into the 2 in the parlour. But, lucky enough it didn't happen. But how that door opened, I don't know. And last night, all the lights on, all the lights were off upstairs. They were all on downstairs.
Well, you do live in a notoriously haunted house.
I know I do. But the bloody bugger, he's got to stop doing it because it's costing me a fortune with electric bills.
Yeah, they are quite expensive, aren't they?
Especially in a house this size, It can be quite expensive.
Well, you got a big house like the Munsters. Just close like that.
Well, no, not really. There's 6 rooms downstairs. So up 6 rooms downstairs plus a hallway. It's a bit of a blooming nuisance.
Yeah. Especially when you have to hoover it, I suppose, as well. That's a hell of a thing to do.
Yeah. And there are all these little light bulbs, chandeliers and things like that with all the little bulbs. There's not just one bulb. So each one of them, is God knows how many wattage and God knows what else. I don't know. Right. Okay. Getting back off my haunted house and getting back onto you, Nick. So besides going to the conferences and what's coming up with Ben Emlyn Jones, what have you been up to? Have you been doing any more research? Have you found anything?
I haven't been doing a lot of filming recently. I've not been feeling too good. I had a few problems with my back, and I decided didn't just get him too full on because I haven't really had a break since 2010, and it's been a bit full on. So I've just been concentrating on because of course I did a Dreaming Sources event back in May, which was just before I was on the show last time. But I'm also, there's a friend of mine that I've met via the internet called Leon Southgate, and he's an academic orgone researcher. He researches orgone energy and writes papers on it. And
what actually, you better explain to the listeners that may not know what that energy is, like me.
Well, it's orgone energy. It's the name that Dr. Wilhelm Reich gave to the energy. It's universal life energy. It's also known as chi or prana.
Oh, that I know.
Yeah, and it's what the Cloudbuster manipulates it. And excites the ethers, and that's what attracts the invisible creatures. But there's some guy called DeMeo, can't remember his first name, but he wrote a paper, and it was called Negative Findings on Constable's Bioforms. And he was talking about the biological invisible UFOs Trevor James Constable caught, and saying that they were just marks on the film emulsion and stuff, and it's quite obvious looking at Trevor's books that there's none that look like that at all. And also there's the work that I've done as well. Going to be doing a paper to counter that called Positive Findings on Constable's Bioforms, and we're going to get it published, proper academic paper. So that's something I'm going to be working on. I'm also putting down some ideas for my next book, which I'm not rushing into, but I'm trying to tie a few key things together, and I should be going out filming an awful lot soon. I'm going to start doing a lot more filming at night, but I stopped after all that kind of strange stuff, paranormal stuff was going on. It unnerved me a bit, so I thought I'd have a complete break, and I got rid of the big mirror that was in my room because I thought I saw an entity in that, and the dog was barking at it, and it was weird. So I got rid of all the mirrors out of my room, and feeling.
Well, you know what they say, mirrors are a doorway to the other side. So portal.
I believe that. I definitely believe that. Yeah.
Well, I've got a big one in a big freestanding one in the bathroom. Or other. Every night I have to have that bathroom door shut. I worry me because those rooms get shut up at night, and because I'm going to bed. But the bathroom is off the hallway upstairs, and I just feel that it's got to be shut. That door has got to be shut at night.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Well, this is it. I mean, I've often heard that, two mirrors opposite each other can create a portal. And this is what we said on the last show when I was talking about the phenomena that I caught in the greenhouse window.
Yeah.
It seems to be reflecting back and forward. It seems to like being that infinity. And this is where I reckon, the portal is in the infinity. I mean, it may be wrong, but, it seems to appear beyond the windows rather than in the windows, those four entities that I caught.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very wary of mirrors and things now. And I was reading something about people scrying and looking into water, balls of water, and all sorts of stuff, and mirrors and different things.
No, that's a very old thing. That goes back years and years and years. Scrying. But I got a black scrying mirror upstairs. It's just a little thing. I just keep it in the drawer. I don't even know why I bought it. It was just one of those things that. I was in one of these new age shops one day and felt that I had to buy something before I left. So I did. I bought this little mirror. But, it doesn't work for me. It really doesn't work for me.
Well, I have to ask a question then, because, as much as I believe in the paranormal and had experiences and whatnot, my scientific side keeps cutting in every once in a while. So I'm really curious to think why you would think, if you look at a mirror, what is a mirror? It's a reflective surface, and it's reflecting the light, the visible light that we can see. And if you
honestly, Mark, if you look into a mirror long enough and you just stand there and stare into it, you see all sorts of things, because it's like pareidolia.
Is it pareidolia?
Your eyes start to...
Yeah, is it pareidolia, or is it a form of self-hypnosis? When you're staring at something intently like that, especially a reflection, looking in a scrying mirror, looking in a pool of water, like Nostradamus did, it's just, it's not what you're actually physically seeing, it's what your psyche is able to connect with. And you might...
But this is if I was to stand now in front of a mirror, which I quite often do because I'm pretty vain.
We knew that.
In front of if I was standing in front of this mirror now staring, I would go into like a daydream. So maybe it is a form of self-hypnosis.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't do anything like that, but I noticed that when I was having a lot of paranormal stuff, my dogs were looking up at the mirror, the big antique mirror. And I basically looked up there from the ground. I was sitting on the ground, and I thought I saw a black shadow in the mirror, and the dogs were like, one of them was on the floor and kind of snarling and stuff, and I just wrapped the mirror up and took it out and put it in the garage, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. I don't really want to pass it on to anyone else because I'm convinced that there's some strange stuff going on, because I was hearing my voice getting called and everything,
Yeah, is it an old mirror? Is it second hand?
The wood,
get it from an antique shop or something?
I got it from the market. It's quite an old. The wood is antique, and they've put a brand new mirror in it. So the wood's very, very old, and I don't know anything about where it came from.
So it was originally a mirror before then, maybe with the glass broken or whatever.
I don't know. I just think it's wood that's been reused. I don't know if it's necessarily a mirror. But I don't have any mirrors up there anymore, and it's the same as I used to have all the statues. I said on the last show of the Egyptian gods. I had all that sort of stuff. My whole room was like a shrine in some way, so I got rid of all that kind of stuff at the height of the paranormal things, because they're affected not just me but the dogs and the family, and it seems to be okay now. It seems to be okay, but obviously we lost Elfie, as I said on the last show, so it's just my little dog Lucy now Roy and Elfie have gone, so but she gets so scared, she starts shaking and panting, and she just doesn't want to go upstairs, and I have to calm her down, but she's looking around the room like she can see something, but who knows, but you can feel it, you get that horrible fear thing, which I haven't had for a long time, thankfully, but I just felt horrible, it's I don't like it. It creeps me out.
Well, animals are your best early warning system if there is something around, let's face it. But like you say, you feel it. So, this paranormal activity you got, what do you think caused it? Was it your research into this invisible UFOs and things? Do you think?
Well, yeah.
Because a lot of paranormal stuff and UFOs is tied together.
Well, I think it's the same thing. I'm quite convinced. I mean, I started filming in 2010, and I filmed right the way through to about 2014. And I was always subconsciously asking for invisible phenomena to appear. And when it got near to doing my book, I was often sort of say in my mind, you know, if there are any invisibles up there in the sky, you know, show yourselves, da-da-da-da-da-da. So, you know, unknown to myself, really, I was kind of summoning. And
Yeah,
it just...
invitation.
Yeah, and then it just happened one day. My sister was going away for an evening, and to a son's house, and I had the two dogs, and I basically the dogs were acting weird. They had like this, it was like almost like a globe of light that was running up and down their bodies, and they froze, and they were acting really weird. And when my sister went, I put them in the house and sat with them, and they kept looking at me really weird, and that unnerved me. So I kept sitting them in a basket, facing them towards the television, which I was facing towards, and they kept looking round, and I kept saying, stop, you know, and they couldn't help themselves. And one of them just got up and went into the corner and started snarling and cowering. I felt absolutely horrible, really scared. It was a horrible feeling. It was quite unnerving. And then I saw an actual orb, actually come through the kitchen wall and into the room where I was. And I sat outside for about 2 or 3 hours with the dogs because I was too scared.
You saw the orb with your own eyes, did you?
Yeah, saw that with my own eyes. Yeah. But that was the first sort of indication I had that anything strange was going on. And then just a few odd things happened, like the computer would switch off now and then, and strange things like that. But it got really intense when I buried Roy, and I'd go out there every night, as I said, you know, filming, taking 15-second exposures in pitch darkness.
You better hold on a minute. You better explain who Roy was, because it doesn't sound good, does it?
Yeah.
When you buried Roy.
Yeah, my little cat Roy. I took him on as a wild cat who was living in the garden. He was about 8 years old, and he got liver cancer in the end. He got so painfully thin and kept collapsing. I had to get him put down, and it broke my heart because he was very close to me. So I buried him, and what I did, I noticed I kept getting Geiger counters when I was out in the garden near his grave. So I went out there and I set up my camera, and I was taking 15-second exposures and 10-second exposures and loads of different ones, just experimenting. And all the time I was asking, Roy, are you there? You know, can you show me a sign that you're okay? Then of course I caught a couple of photographs of like plasma type stuff coming out from the grave, and it almost mimicked the flowers, which are in shape, mimicked the flowers in general shape that I actually put on there earlier for Roy. And then of course the second photograph about a month or so later was the snake-like object coming out from the grave. And it was around then everything started getting really...
and you've got those photographs on your website, haven't you?
That's right, yeah, questinvisibles.co.uk. Yeah, and I've also got some footage on the YouTube channel, the QFTI, Quest for the Invisibles YouTube channel. So it got pretty weird then after Roy died. You see, and I buried my little dog the other day, you know, that died, so Elfie. But I was going to go out there and start filming, but I decided not to. I just couldn't stomach it again. I was just worried that it will start all over again. And, you know, you can lose your sanity when you start having strange stuff happening. You know, you're laying in bed and you hear someone calling you, and you think you see people walking around in the room, and, you know, the door's ringing here, ringing next door. And, you know, I've had things with lights going on, lights going off, and, you know, things being moved, and it can be quite unnerving. So I'm kind of just going to film in the daytime now and just walk around filming at night, but not near the gravesite. I'm going to leave Alfie alone. You know, I think it's...
Yeah, leave him to rest in peace.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, to keep in mind, is it really Alfie? And I hate to say it like that, because, you know, we're assuming that maybe what you're dealing with is the spirit of a pet, but you don't know if it's something else.
Oh no, definitely not.
That's messing with you.
Roy, actually, Roy the cat. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Well, one of the images, it looks like a snake type thing, and it's almost got a collar around it, and it's always really proud and standing there, and it's got like a bill and eyes and ears, and you can see scales on it. That's one of the pictures that's on the website. And it's almost like regal, and it knows it's being filmed. But as you say, yeah, it might not have been Roy. It could have been like a gateway for all this stuff to start happening, because I was very sad in those days, you know, and, you know, I was very upset that I had to get Roy put down, and I was grieving. And I think, you know, some malevolent force could have sneaked in there, you know, and took advantage of it. But yeah, it's not a nice experience. And I didn't realise this when I started filming UFOs. I never thought of the paranormal being involved in them. It didn't even enter my head. I clearly saw them as two separate entities, you know, the paranormal and the UFO thing. But now I believe they're interlocked, you know.
Oh, definitely. I believe they're interlocked, because when I was doing Spirit Rescue International, a lot of the hauntings that we were working on, when you spoke to them about UFO stuff, oh yeah, I see UFOs over my house. Yeah, I see this, I see that. So there was a connection, you know. There was definitely a connection, because Why?
Well,
I don't know. I can't answer.
I believe they're showing up in the skies. I believe it's the times we're in. I think there's probably a battle for the soul of man. I think I think you've got sort of negative forces and you've got positive forces, and I think that these beings are showing themselves to us. But I believe that they're interdimensional beings. I don't necessarily believe they're from other planets in physical craft, because the way they're just showing up in the skies all the time, and they know when you're looking, they seem to tune into people. It's just like the summoning thing. You go out there expecting to or wanting to film UFOs, and you look to the skies, and as I found out, everything you think from my experience goes out there through the third eye and straight up there into the skies, and these beings can hear it, and they'll come and they'll respond just from your thoughts. So that opens up a whole load of stuff.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of these sky watching groups that go out there and they put the word out. They call for them to show themselves, the UFOs and things like that. So
Dr. Stephen Greer is. I was going to say Dr. Stephen Greer and his group is really big with that, going out and trying to summon these things. Problem is, again, what are you summoning?
This is it. Who knows?
Exactly.
Who knows? And you might want to clarify when you're summoning something. Like, you only want something certain coming around and not something nasty that wants to do nasty things to you or harm you in any way.
That's the thing. Well, I did an interview and I had quite a few people emailing me saying to me, don't invite them into your life, and they were quoting all these passages from the Bible that were clearly talking about this kind of end time thing when these beings were going to, some kind of illusion going on and these beings were coming back, and we're in those times, and I started thinking, perhaps that's what's going on. Because from my experience, even the craft-like objects that I've filmed, they seem to change shape. And I'm starting to believe that some of the craft are actual entities themselves in their own right, and they can change their form, look like anything they want. They seem to be able to do that. So it's very hard to tell, what you're actually filming. And, at the end of the day, why would craft come from planets miles away just to show up in the skies and flash a light at a few people and then go?
It does seem a waste of time, doesn't it?
But, I've heard a lot of stories about them, underground bases and these beings, this old race, this reptilian race being on Earth. And I think that's probably quite true because, even if you don't look at, even if you're not into what David Icke's saying, if you start looking back into the history of all these tribes, like the Aboriginals, the Zulus, and you look back into the Inca, the Maya, all these things, this story about these beings comes out over and over again, even in the Red Indians, snake-like entities, reptilian entities. And some of the names of the Red Indians are, they actually mean snake, something to do with reptilian snakes, I think.
Yeah.
So it's in there in the history, and the evidence is there as well of all these ancient cities that have got these huge rocks, they've been carved out and they've been heaved up in the air. Plenty of them are under the sea, but we've still got a lot of evidence. And so, I'm starting to sort of piece it together. This is what my next book is going to be about, Hidden Realities. I'm going to be trying to link the ancient cities with beings that came down and gave us technology, and linking that in with what it says in the Bible, and also a lot of the ancient books, the Hindu scriptures, and even back, the Chinese and the Japanese, their whole lines of emperors claim to come from reptilian beings, and tribe in Africa, it goes on and on.
Yeah, and people say I'm a reptilian as well.
Yeah. I think they're just calling you a snake behind your back.
Well, yeah. But you saw that picture of me, my profile picture. I got one reptilian eye coming out there.
Yeah, that just looks like the evil eye,
Yeah, no, they do. They say I'm reptilian. They call me an old snake.
Well, what's interesting, if you look at something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is when you're talking about reptilians or whatnot, look at South America. You have the Mayan and Aztec cultures. They had their god Quetzalcoatl. What was Quetzalcoatl? Sometimes he's described as a feathered serpent.
Yeah.
Or a man with red hair. And the feathered serpent thing has really started to stick with me because, that's also something in Chinese, Asian cultures, that, where the dragons. And
that's it.
with Westerners, when we think of a dragon, we think of the traditional like smog type of vermithrax type dragon, which is all scales and bat-like wings and whatnot. And yet these other cultures give them feathers and plumes. And now here's what's interesting. You know, archaeologists the last several years have been discovering how the dinosaurs have more in common with birds than reptiles, and many of these dinosaurs may have had feathers and plumage. So think about that. These ancient cultures keep talking about these dragons or dragon-likes or snakes with feathers, which would fall in line to what we're starting to learn about ancient animals, and what we think of as the dinosaurs may have had feathers because a lot of them did evolve into birds.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the origins of a lot of these things, they were sky gods that came down, and they seem to be able to take what form they would, but they seem to be able to, well, they've always basically been a reptilian form, I think, and it's represented obviously in the Bible by the serpent, and there's a lot of references as well. But it's very interesting, it's very interesting stuff. But about the dinosaurs as well. But I've been doing quite a bit of research recently. But I'm still of the opinion that dinosaurs were living up until the time of this great flood. Because evidence is being shown. They found human footprints in the same strata as dinosaurs, and they're finding more and more remains now that seem to have this. Even some of them got blood vessels in them and stuff. So I'm still looking into that thing. That the dragons. When they talk about the dragons, they were basically dinosaurs, a few remnants that were living into the medieval times and stuff. Because I can't remember the exact date, but I think the word dragon, that was basically listed up until 15th century, I believe, in one of the books. And it said basically almost extinct or something, rare now, I think it said. But there is still some in Europe in one publication. So people were very much talking about, the actual dragon type creatures. Like George and the Dragon, you've got Wales, the type of Wales, you've got dragon.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Down here, they've got I've got a dragon on the bloody wall of the house next door looking straight at me. He's going to have a bulldog on his, I tell you. But the Welsh with their dragon. Do you know Scotland has a dragon as well? And the UK. And England. So, yeah. I don't know about Ireland, but I know there is a Scottish dragon. They're all different colours. Each one is a different colour.
But think about that. And I know we're kind of getting off topic of the invisibles, but, this just fascinates me is, almost every culture around the world has dragons or feathered serpents as part of their culture. And yet we all think, oh, these are mythical creatures. Well, of course, then you think of dinosaurs. But then, of course, the archaeologists tell us, well, they died out 65 million years ago. Yeah, prove it. They haven't.
What about the Ica burial stones? They were dated at, a couple of hundred years BC, I think, weren't they? And they had clear drawings of dinosaurs and man, plus a load of other things as well.
Yep, there's that. There's also there's a stream bed in Texas that has dinosaur and human footprints side by side. So and here's the thing, and this is going to be something I'll bring up more later on, and when I start my new show, that what we think of as history isn't quite true. They have an idea what history is, and they try to sell it to us as fact. But they're trying to piece together pieces of puzzle. And sometimes, let's face it, when that puzzle piece doesn't fit, they throw it out because it doesn't fit into the narrative that they want to believe. And this is why our world and our reality is so much stranger than anybody thinks it is. And in dealing with getting back on the invisibles topic, these other beings, these entities, whatever it is we're dealing with, whether they're spiritual, whether they're interdimensional, whether they're just beyond our comprehension, there's something going on and there's something there, and people are, like yourself, having these experiences.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I always when I was young, I remember hearing ghost stories from this teacher at school, and I always sort of went, "Whoa," thinking I don't know, I always kind of believed in that stuff, although I never saw anything. But I always believed there was something there, and you get creeped out, you get that creepy feeling when you go through a graveyard or something, and it's just like a fear that comes in, like a natural sort of instinct. So I've always believed that, these things are out there. There are other realities. But it wasn't until I started my work with Quest for the Invisibles in 2010 that I started actually filming my own stuff. I mean, up until that point, I'd not even considered the idea that UFOs could be anything other than ships from other planets. I mean, I had that UFO encounter on Christmas Eve 2008, and the object I saw was about the size of a small van, and it was heavily hidden in the mist, and it was glowing pink and going through like an orange colour, and it looked like it was alive. It looked like it was breathing, and I was just so puzzled by what I'd seen, and it looked like something from the deep ocean, bioluminescent life form. I was very bewildered by it. It left me more sort of questions than I got answered. So that's when I discovered Trevor James Constable and heard the word biological UFOs and invisible UFOs. I mean, up until that point, I'd never heard of Trevor James Constable. I'd never heard anything about invisible UFOs. I never even considered the fact that UFOs could be anything other than just transport ships, So, my whole world has sort of opened up pretty much. And obviously I had weird stuff going on as well. So I'm kind of aware of a lot of stuff now, and I feel extra sensitive as well. It's almost like once you open yourself up, I think we've said this before, you can't kind of close yourself off. Once you become aware of something, it's very hard not to be aware of it.
There's also, have you ever heard of the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I'm bringing this up because there is a new documentary movie that's coming out soon that's based on George Knapp and Colm Kelleher's groundbreaking book called Hunt for the Skinwalker, which chronicled all the strange activity that went on at the ranch when the one family lived there, and then when Robert Bigelow's team moved in and bought the ranch and had been doing their research there for years. But one of the stories they talk about are these balls of light. Like you saw an orb come through a wall. Well, the family and the ranchers there would see these balls of light that would act with intelligence. And there was one time it led his 3 dogs into the woods, and then the next thing he knows, because the dogs were chasing at it and trying to snap and grab at it, and it seemed to duck down to taunt them and led them away into the woods. The next thing you know, he hears his dogs all screaming, then it goes quiet. And then he goes out the next day and finds like 3 piles of goo that used to be his dogs. And these things killed them. Now, this light is obviously not a craft. So what is it? Is it an entity? Is it a like non-corporeal type of entity or spiritual type person? Is it something that's beyond our understanding? But it acted with intelligence, and it was not a nuts and bolt UFO.
Yeah. Well, I filmed. There's a bit of footage that I've got on my YouTube channel, and it's got various orbs on it. And one of them comes right up in front of the camera, really slow, and you can see it moving under its own steam. And there's a load of other ones shooting by. But I think that the easiest way for energy to move around is in a ball shape. I saw a really good bit of footage on telly where this guy had filmed a ball that was coming down, and as it got down, it suddenly turned into a bloke walking. And this was on the crash site where these 3 kids had been killed or something. Mm-hmm. That was very, very weird. And also the GRCU group, which was the Italian group, they filmed a lot of balls and a lot of things that turned like plasmatic balls, and sometimes strange creatures would almost hatch out of them, or they'd turn into sort of like entities that had halos or horns and strange things like that. They describe it as arabesques of light, and they found that very often that entities would come from these balls. So I'm sure that that's the energy traveling. It's probably the best way for these entities to travel. I suppose, and then form in this physical world, perhaps. I don't know. I've not been too hot on orbs because I've just found a few of them using CCTV. Got some good footage, and I've caught a few when I've used the flash in the infrared. And a few have had faces on them, I think, in the past. And I've seen a few other bits of footage where they seem to have clear faces on them.
And as an investigator myself, I've taking pictures and doing video for years in paranormal investigations. You learn pretty quick that in 99% of the cases, orbs are dust or particles, airborne particles floating right in front of the camera, especially if it has
moisture and things.
Yeah, especially if it has an IR light on. That particle is so close to the camera lens, illuminated by the light, whether it's white light, IR light, and it's out of the focal plane, so it blows up to look like a big orb. And pareidolia can make it look like it has a face. But you know what? I'm telling you, I've caught a few where I've gotten what looks to me absolute clear faces in them. They're bigger and look different than some of the other orb pictures I've gotten. I've also gotten video of these bright, self-illuminating orbs coming out of a wall in the far side of the room and meandering across the room and flying past the camera, pulsating as it goes. Well, a piece of dust isn't going to do that, because if it starts drifting away, it'll disappear out of the focal plane.
Yeah.
And they don't usually, those dust orbs usually don't show three-dimensional attributes. But these things coming across out of a wall on the other side of the room and moving towards you and over your head, and getting bigger as it comes, is showing it has mass, or at least what we can interpret as mass.
Yeah. Well, there's a bit of footage I've taken. I was out there filming in the garden, and lots of orbs were whizzing by. It was a freezing cold night in November, and I walked away, went back in the house, and during the time I was away, a huge orb sort of seemed to form from the ground, and it came up out of the ground, and it moved so slowly that I caught it perhaps in about 20 frames, and it was pure white and it was glowing, and it just came to sort of like head height, and then it kind of faded away and went. But it definitely looked like it was an intelligence. It really did. And that's on my YouTube site. I've also got another one of an orb that's spinning, and as it spins, it sort of disappears and then comes back again. It's very strange looking thing. But I don't use any kind of light source, really. When I film with my I'm obviously filming in infrared or in full spectrum with my camcorder at night, I don't use any light source. I film in total darkness. And when I take photographs in total darkness as well. Apart from if I get multiple hits on the Geiger counter around me, I'll then use a flash sometimes to try and illuminate anything that's around me. Mm-hmm. And I've caught a few pictures like that, obviously the ones in the greenhouse. But most of the time, I don't use any light source. I stand there in pitch darkness. I can't even see what I'm doing. And I've got like my hand on the camera, which is on a tripod, and I've got the Geiger counter in the other hand. And as soon as I get a hit of 0.20 microsieverts per hour, that's it. I instantly take photographs. And that's how I've got a lot of my footage. In the daytime, it's a bit different because I use a cloudbuster, and then I kind of aim that above the trees, and I film in the ultraviolet as well. And I do use the Geiger counter as well. So more and more of my footage is basically on instrumental detection. And the GRCU, they used various like heat sensors and sound sensors, all sorts of different things apart from a Geiger counter. But I didn't want to complicate my life with too much technology, really. So I can walk the dogs with the Geiger counter in my left hand. Well, to say dog now, because one of them's died. But I can walk, Lucy, I hold the lead in the left hand with the Geiger counter in one hand, and I've got the camera around my neck when I'm walking around. Or I'll just sit on a chair when I'm in the garden, spend a few hours, and just take photos, just pitch dark. I can't see anything, so I'm very surprised when something comes out because I'm seeing nothing, and I'm taking photos in pitch darkness.
Well, you just mentioned that you don't like to bogged down with too much technology, but yet I'd be interested in what you're capturing using video and photographic cameras. Have you ever tried to experiment using, because the other two techniques that I use to try to capture activity would be obviously a thermal camera. And FLIR has put out this great new device, because FLIR thermal cameras are usually insanely expensive, thousands of dollars. But now they come out with the new FLIR One attachment for your cell phone or tablet that works and is just as good, if not better, than some of the old FLIRs, the expensive ones we used to use for measuring heat. And, of course, transforming that into an image that you can watch and determining cold spots, hot spots, or something moving through that shouldn't be there. My other one that I like playing with these days is the SLS camera, which is the converting an Xbox Kinect sensor, which throws out all those infrared beams to track and map the human body, and having something that you can't physically see appearing as a human form or a distorted form using this type of camera. So two other devices other than regular cameras that are showing that there are things there that we can capture and measure but are not visible to the naked eye.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, I've noticed on these ghost hunting programs, people are using a lot of different equipment now. I mean, so I only use the Geiger counter for detection, whereas I've noticed in these ghost hunting things, they're they kind of use they're looking for electromagnetic changes in the electromagnetic field. That's something I've not gone into, but I just like to have just the one device. But I mean, I've got an SLR camera, infrared SLR camera, which has been converted, and I've got like a 720 nanometer infrared pass filter in it. But when I use my camcorder, because it's full spectrum, I can use a whole range of different ones. I can go into the infrared at 720, which leaves a little bit of natural light, like the bit of red that appears just before the infrared, or I can go a lot further in, like sort of 870, which is what Trevor used, and that cancels everything up to 870 nanometers, so it's just pure infrared. But I like to include a bit of coloured light in there as well, because it helps sometimes to put the picture in more perspective, rather than just having a pitch black picture with an entity on it or something. It's nice to see a bit of where it was, or the positioning of it compared with other things. And it lets in a little bit of natural light from the lights in the street, but it's only seeing a very small part of the red out of the total white flash. So I like that in the flash as well. When you take a picture with the flash, I see it all light up, but my infrared camera only sees a small part of the red spectrum out of that total white light. But it's enough to sort of light some of these entities up and some of these objects as well.
I tell you what, you two have lost me. I am totally lost here. I'm going to stick with my old box brownie, because I don't know what the hell you two are talking about. All this technology.
Yeah, it can get a bit full on at times, but I'll try and keep it simple, really. So, yeah.
So you get pretty good results by doing all this, do you?
Well, I have done. I've done it 8 years. I mean, most of the time I don't catch anything. I mean, I took over 1,000 photographs at Roy's grave, and I caught 2 images. And the same with the greenhouse. Yeah, gosh, I filmed for years and years and years. I'd go for weeks on end without catching anything. Then I'd catch something that just appeared on 2 frames. This is why I need to wear glasses now, because my eyes are having trouble coping with it all. I'm getting a bit older. So, yeah, you've got to be quite determined and quite patient. But the pictures that are in my book, Quest for Invisibles, that's 5 years of non-stop work. Sometimes I was going out 4 or 5 times a week, filming for 7 hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's hard work.
And that's what a lot of people who watch these ghost shows don't understand, that for every hour that you record of video or audio, that's an hour you have to sit down and review and watch. And let's say you do an 8-hour investigation and you have 5 cameras running. 5 times 8 is 40. You've got 40 hours of video to just sit there and watch. And I guarantee you that in almost all of it, if not all of it, you're going to get nothing. That's how.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and especially when you're filming at 50 frames a second, you're talking 3,000 frames a minute or something. You've got a lot of potential frames, and things sometimes just appear on 1 or 2 frames, sometimes 3, with what I'm filming. But most of the time, things are very small, or they're not good enough. I mean, the pictures in my book are the best pictures, like the cream of everything that I filmed through the 5 years, and some other stuff obviously on the website when I started filming at night. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the time I don't catch anything. But when you catch that one good thing, it's like, wow, and it really gets you back up there again, So no, it's good fun. It's good. But I've had to take a break from it all because it's just been getting so full on. But I've been doing a few talks this year and a few radio shows. So I'm just going to basically get the rest of this year out of the way, and then I'm going to really go for it next year and film in the daytime and start filming at night again, and try and get more footage for my next book. As well as putting a few notes down towards the new book. So there's always stuff to do. There's always people that are quite interested in this. Like yourselves, obviously. A few other shows I've done.
Yeah, you done Dave Schrader's, didn't you?
Yeah. About a week after I finished your show, I got a call from Dave Schrader's show asking me if I'd go on Midnight in the Desert. Yeah, I was on there for 2 hours. I had to get up I had to be online by about 5 in the morning or something. It's really early.
Yeah, I know Dave. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he is a really nice guy, and like like Mark said, we are leading show to that show on Dark Matter Digital.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was a great show. No, I love talking to Dave. Yeah, I really did. He was great. He was, I mean, I didn't know whether he was going to be quite a skeptic or what, but we had some really good conversations.
He's a really nice person. Yeah. He is a really nice person.
Yeah, well, they said if I write another book or I've got anything else interesting coming up in the next few years, get in touch, and they'll see if they can get me back on again. But no, it was great. It was a real pleasure. Real pleasure. Yeah.
Now, Nick, in terms of UFOs, and I know we talked about this a little bit last time, but, what made you realize that there were these invisibles out there? Was it just you were taking photographs and things started showing up, or did you set out with a specific purpose to try to photograph things that people don't see with the naked eye?
Well, it was when I discovered the work of Trevor James Constable. I managed to get hold of his second book, actually, Cosmic Pulse of Life. And I was looking at the methods he used, and I thought, wow, I just thought it just seemed to make so much sense that a lot of UFOs are invisible. I mean, when he first set out with his work, he was quite intrigued by the fact that UFOs have been detected on radar but not seen with the eye. And he wanted to know, and also where UFOs were appearing and then disappearing, and he wanted to know where they went. So that's why he started looking into the infrared, because he noted that the radar sort of bordered the infrared. So he decided to start looking there, and originally he used infrared film, but he got quite different pictures to what I've got, because he found that sometimes this particular energy of these invisible creatures or whatever they were kind of like nullifying the emotions rather than reacting with them. So sometimes you just get like a shadow, a black sort of outline, well, like a version of it, but it didn't appear in the emotions. It was just like a pure black version of it, where no enamel, nothing had happened at all on the film. Nothing had happened at all. It hadn't reacted. And sometimes this helped reveal an awful lot of detail. And in his first photographs, the amoeba photographs, that you could see several sort of like markings that showed that these things that he captured were pretty much biological. But it's just his work, really. I mean, I wrote to Trevor, and he wrote back to me. I was telling him I was thinking of filming in digital, and he said, go ahead, try it. It's always good to try new approaches. So, it's like a red rag to a bull to me. I just went mad from that word go, but I wouldn't have known about it if it hadn't been for finding out about Trevor's work. And it's through Trevor's work that I found out about the GRCU, and that's obviously why I'm using a Geiger counter, because they use Geiger counters. So just been going along, really, reading the books and trying similar things. But I filmed for perhaps in the winter of 2010, in the beginning of 2010, I filmed for about 3 or 4 months and never caught anything. I was just thinking about giving up, but I just carried on going and going and going. And then one day on the April 16th, I took 3 photographs exactly where I was just about to pack up for the day, and I thought I'd take 3 more photographs, 3 more for luck. And on the second photograph, the middle photograph, there was like a sort of like, it's very similar to something that Trevor James Constable had filmed, like an egg-shaped object, and it only appeared in the second photograph, and the photographs were like 1/10,000th of a second, and it only appeared in the middle photograph. So I knew then that I was onto something. So I've just taken it from there, really. I mean, there's no rules. You just got to basically go with your flow, with the gut feeling, really. But also I've expanded out now. I'm going to do this thing with Ben Emily Jones. I'm sort of aware of other phenomena. And I've heard similar stories where people were stalked like I was, and it kind of opens up a whole lot. And then of course you get the bits of Roy coming up. It takes my work into the paranormal a lot more than just straight UFO work. So it's good. But it's all down to Trevor James Constable's work, really. Without Trevor's work, there wouldn't be a quest for the invisibles. Definitely not.
Well, what about your own experiences with things that you have actually seen with your own eye? Now, you mentioned earlier in the program actually seeing an orb. And what else have you seen with the naked eye? Because and not to get off on a tangent here, but sometimes it seems like some of these things we see, like with modern technology, the military has developed stealth technology, which is to make a very solid, visible object invisible to radar. But now you just mentioned earlier about things that appear on radar that can't be seen with the naked eye. So what are we dealing with? Some type of cloaking technology, making things invisible to our light spectrum? Or is it like, as Douglas Adams came up with in one of his Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy novels, called the Somebody Else's Problem Field, which is basically that people don't want to know about it. It's not going to appear and they're not going to see it because they think it's somebody else's problem. So,
yeah. Well, I believe they're going at different frequencies, I think, and they have the ability to sort of come into this physical dimension and be seen, then go back. I mean, they're either bending light or scattering it, or maybe it's just that they're changing the frequency that we can perceive them at. I don't know. It's such a big subject, and I've only been doing it for 8 years, which seems like a long time, but I'm only just breaking the surface of it. There's just so much to think about, really. So it's just an ongoing thing with me, really. I'm just very interested, and I just need to know more about it. I can't help myself, really. I've got the curiosity of a cat. So, but this is it. I think with the sort of astral craft things that people see, these things that look like solid craft, they seem to be able to disappear. So I don't know whether they're actually increasing their vibrational rate and going beyond the visible light spectrum, so we can't perceive them, or whether they're using some kind of technology, stealth technology, or bending light, or whatever. It's always hard to know, really. It's hard to know.
See, one of the things that I lean towards lately is, and again, getting back to perceptions of reality. Now, we know that the light spectrum, we see a sliver of the actual full spectrum of light. With the middle spectrum, we see a visible light. And then on either side, you either have the infrared spectrum, which is even larger than the visible light spectrum, or the ultraviolet on the other end. So if you look at light in that way, I'm beginning to look at reality in that way. Are we looking at what we think of right now as our physical reality like a frequency or a vibration of light, and we're only able to perceive that small sliver, when all around us is a much grander, expanded reality that is beyond our perception, because our bodies, our physical bodies, are just not capable of seeing it or experiencing it. We can
or decoding it. Yeah. It's like what you said last time about the radio. It's a bit like tuned into a radio frequency. There's all those different frequencies out there, but you just tuned into the one. And it all seems to be existing at the same time. So I believe there's multiple realities existing at the same time. And then you get into the time thing. Perhaps things coming back from the future. And it's hard to tell. Whether they're warping space time, and it's such a lot to talk about, really. It's just hard to know. That's why I've gone out there and doing my own quest, because I found I wasn't finding anything out from books. I mean, I always left when I saw videos of UFOs on the telly, or I saw things on YouTube. I always came away feeling, I'm not sure whether that's real or not. So that's why I decided to do my own quest, and I knew that what I photographed was real, because you just don't know. We're in this age now where people can manipulate images and things. So I'm just doing my own little thing. I'm trying to sort of work out what I can about what's actually going on, but I'm only scratching the surface of it, so I've got a lot more work to do yet.
One of the other tools that I use as an investigator is I'm learning to tune in with my own psyche and and even how my body physically reacts to an environment. And so when you're out there and doing this stuff, taking pictures, and if you're encountering some types of activity, what do you feel changes, different? You mentioned earlier about getting really scared, that fear that hits you out of the blue for no reason. Or do you have many opportunities, like your body is sending you signals to say, hey, I think something's near me?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I suddenly sort of pick something up, and all of a sudden my hearing seems to, I can feel my pulse almost in my ears sometimes. I suddenly get that initial fear sometimes if I hear a crunch near me in the forested area and I know nothing's there. The Geiger counter will go off and I hear a crunch and I can feel it. Yeah, I mean, you get all the hair standing on your edge, and I get that sort of fight or flight sometimes, but I've had to work through that. But it's very hard because your body, I think, you're designed to feel these things. I mean, the whole idea of fight or flight is to, either fight or run like hell, isn't it, really? So sometimes
survival, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing, yeah. But I definitely feel something, yeah. And the minute I think I feel something, that's when my hearing seems to go super duper sensitive. You can always hear a pin drop. I find that at night when I'm just on the verge of sleep. Tiniest little noise I notice, it registers as like a light flash. Tiniest little thing.
Yeah. Do you ever see light flashes?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so do I. Do you ever get this high pitch in your ears?
Oh yeah, well I was a musician for many years, like tinnitus type thing. But yeah, no, I do. And then I suddenly turn my head to the side and it goes woo. But yeah, no, I thought I was receiving signals from some.
Well, I get that, and I'm not a musician. I get that at night, and as soon as I turn around and say "bug off," right, it stops.
Yeah.
But also sometimes I'm laying there, and all of a sudden there'll be a flash in the room, just a flash.
Yeah, but it's strange when you start seeing in the dark. I think when you close your eyes, when you're in the dark, your third eye comes in. You know, the third eye is the gateway to the dream world, to other dimensions. And it's like when you start, your physical eyes don't see as well, but your third eye comes on, and that is the link to the other levels. I'm sure, you know, because you're perceiving it, and it's where you know, it's like the screen that you have when you go into your dreams. I believe that when you dream, your consciousness is going onto this other level and then coming back into your body. But I believe it travels through the third eye, you know, and I've had experiences where I've actually travelled through my own third eye into reality and got into the dream state quite conscious, you know.
Yeah, I do that quite often. You know, you'll be laying there and all of a sudden it's like you're actually seeing everything happening or whatever's going to happen. Like, I used to see a lot of terrorist attacks, didn't I, Mark, that way? But, yeah, that happens quite a lot with me.
Yeah. Well, I had a funny one going back about 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago. I'm not sure when it was now, but I was laying there on the bed and I drifted off and I saw this huge crowd of people and I heard an explosion. And I got this feeling that somebody important had been killed, and it was Gandhi had been killed.
Was that?
I heard later on that night that Gandhi had been killed and someone was blowing themselves up or something like that. I think it was Gandhi. And but it's almost like I'd seen it, but I didn't know who it was. But I just had this feeling that somebody important had been killed, and it's like I was there in the crowd just for a split second. It's weird, you know. And the same as the dreamscape thing. It's like another reality. I believe your consciousness is going into that reality. It leads
you know you're still awake, but you are actually seeing it playing out inside your head, or you've got your eyes shut and you're actually seeing it playing out like on a television screen.
Yeah,
this is what happens with me. And I also saw as well, when I was in that particular state once, I saw another place out in the desert somewhere, which was called Area something. I can't remember now. Mark can remember.
Area 51.
Yeah, it wasn't Area 51 though, was it? It was another area that they...
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. It had a different number.
This all happened while I just lay down and it was like it all switched on, like a television switching on, and I'm sitting watching it all going on. And yeah. Do you remember that, Mark?
I do. I'd forgotten about that, but now you're going to have the men in black knocking on your door saying, "We're going to talk to you about this other area."
Yeah, well, you know that. You know what'll happen to them if they knock on my bloody door?
Yeah, the dogs will get them.
Off. Like everything else, naff off.
Yeah. Well, I believe that all consciousness is one. I believe that we're all linked into a greater consciousness. I mean, I've thought of people, you know, and they've rang me, and it's happened, you know, a lot of times, especially with my last partner. I mean, she was always sort of thinking something. I know straight away what she was thinking, and you know, I've had a lot of strange things where I've just thought of somebody after years, and suddenly they've rang up, or I've rang them up, and they've said, "Wow, I was just thinking of you." So I believe on a level, you know, we are connected. We're all connected.
Well, I see a lot of strange stuff which I know is dimensional, you know, or interdimensional or whatever, I don't know, you know, like Air Traveller on the way to the airport and things like that. And the man standing by the gate while my son was driving in it, he wasn't there. But I saw him. My daughter and my granddaughter saw him as well.
Doppelganger.
You know? Yeah.
Doppelganger, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody walked past the window and one thing or another in the drive.
Yeah.
And got to the gate. I watched him. He stood at the gate, looked at me, and then just disappeared. And he was modern day. He was a modern day man. Just disappeared. Didn't get to. I don't remember him going through the gate.
My wife had an experience like that. We lived in this one house for a couple of years, and it's one of those areas where I'm convinced it's the land that there's something going on, because I've had other reports of things happening there. But we used to have some strange things happen in that house. And one time she was in the bathroom doing her hair. We were going to go out later, and she sees me in the corner of her eye, or walk out of her office and walk right past the bathroom door into the bedroom. So after a minute, she goes, "Okay, so what did you want to do today?" And I don't answer. She goes, "Hello?" And I still don't answer. And then she looks around. There's nobody there. And she calls up my name while I'm downstairs watching television. Well, that wasn't me. But she clearly saw somebody walk right past her into the next room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I had a weird thing happen about 6 months ago where I thought my sister was out in the garden. I thought she's probably doing something, looking at the plants or something, and I went back in the house and she was in the front room, and I swear I saw her out in the garden for a split second. So I don't know, but this all comes back to the reality thing again, doesn't it? It's just a strange world we're living in. It really is, and the more you sort of look into it, the more it seems stranger and stranger. It's very interesting, though.
Well, it's like, and Nick, I apologize because I just don't remember if we discussed this when you were on last time, but Irene, it's like your time traveler.
Yeah.
Because he was not physically there, and then yet in your photograph, he is standing right behind you like he's walking past you.
Yeah, I know.
Did we discuss that one with you, Nick?
No, I don't think so. I haven't heard about it. No. I've seen a few photographs of alleged sort of people that have been caught that didn't look right in the photos.
No, well, I'll tell you what it was, Nick, right? We were investigating this old house in Gleneffley, it was. And it was me and my friend, Lorna. The two of us were in the bathroom, downstairs bathroom. And I just said to Lorna, messing around, let's take some photographs. We take photographs in the mirror. Sometimes you never know what you're going to get if you photograph in the mirror. Usually a lot of smears. But, we were taking photographs, and I was taking a photograph in the mirror, and she was standing behind me about just a little way back, but behind me. And when I looked at the photograph when I come home, there was a man went between me and her as if he was running. Now, at the end of the bathroom, right, there was a brick wall, so he couldn't have gone anywhere. It was just like he was running past us, okay? His arm was out as if he was running, and he was holding something really weird. And he had a weird kind of like helmet on his head. Like he was some sort of uniform or something from the future.
Wow.
But it was only me and Lorna in there. And I checked the photographs that were taken before this photograph, and I checked the photographs after, and there was nothing wrong with them. And I've still got the memory card, the little memory card, untouched. I took it out of the camera and never used it since that day. It's in a box.
And what I've always been fascinated by that photo is the fact that, it's somebody wearing what looks to be modern or beyond modern clothing. He's wearing a black, tight-fitting shirt or almost like a jumpsuit kind of thing, but his hands are free and clear. He's holding a device. He's got a black helmet on his head with a chin strap. And the helmet, it looked like sometimes like SWAT teams on the police or anti-riot police, and they wear those black helmets. It would kind of look like something like that. But he's walking through holding something in his hand like a device, but you can't really see it. His hand's covering it. Very purposeful, walking past. And he's clear as a bell, clear as day. He's not transparent. He's there, but he can't physically be there because Irene's standing in the doorway with Lorna directly behind her, and there's nowhere for him to go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, it makes you think, doesn't it? It makes you think. I mean, I did an email off a guy years ago who lives in America, a guy called Gregory Harold, and he started getting a lot of strange vandalism happening at his house. And he thought it was the neighbour's kids, so he set up he was getting like weird kind of liquids poured on his car, and the plants were dying, and he found this sort of frothy liquid. So he set up one of these Super 8 cameras to film every 3 seconds. And when he reviewed the footage, he found these little men that had like helmets on. And at first he thought they were the kids from next door with baseball hats on. But the more and more he looked at them, he realised they were little beings, and they had little hands. They were holding onto a pole, and they had like helmets on, looked like little astronauts, and they were coming down a tube into this reality. And in some of the photographs, he actually caught these reptilian-looking beings that were helping these other beings come into the reality. He caught some really strange stuff, and he ended up filming for, I think it's 10 years or so, and he released all his findings in a book called Harold's Mystery. But some very interesting stuff he filmed, and they were definite little beings. Very strange, but, and it was, on some of the pictures, actually, the camera was tilted, but when some of these phenomena came out, it wasn't at the angle the camera was at. So I suspect that it was actually burning itself by its particular energy onto the film. That was very strange stuff he caught. Never got to the bottom of it totally, but
It is weird, this, because since this one in the bathroom, which I didn't know, and I never felt this fella in the bathroom whatsoever, but since then I've had so many of these experiences, and they are different to anything like a haunting or anything. The sensation, the feeling, the vibration of these experiences is totally different to anything like investigating a haunted house or seeing a ghost or an apparition or anything. They're totally different.
Yeah, well, I believe there's beings all around us looking in on us. I'm starting to become more and more convinced that there are beings that are maybe even influencing our thoughts at sometimes. Because sometimes you get a thought and you don't know where it comes from, and it makes me wonder whether, you see these little cartoons where a guy's trying to decide whether to do something. There's like a little devil on his shoulder, and it strikes me that it's sort of a bit like that, really,
Yeah, I think I got one on each shoulder, me. No, I'm a strange one anyway, but like I can close my eyes, I see terrorist attacks, and I know when there's going to be a terrorist attack and where it's going to be and what city and things like that,
Wow.
But also...
You get a job with intelligence services.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a hoot, huh?
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
Again, they're going to be knocking on your door.
Irene, behave.
Behave, Irene.
Behave. And also, like you say, these ideas, these voices that come into you,
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, I had that experience.
Yeah, well, we do have those, don't we, Mark?
Yeah.
Except they like to talk to you.
Yeah, well, yeah, they talk to me. It's been a while, though.
Highly intellectual.
And what that means, Nick, and we've talked about this on the program before. Every now and then I'll be talking to Irene, and then next thing I realize I'm not talking to Irene. There's somebody else kind of stepping in and telling us some things. And
far above my intelligence, I tell you.
Well, that isn't too hard to do.
No.
Oh.
No. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Slap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, I often wonder whether these entities have got influence on us. I mean, just the fact that you can do summoning, you can look into the sky and your thoughts go out into the sky and get picked up by beings. That tells me that there's some kind of a link, and a lot of ghost programs, it makes you wonder whether whether you're on some kind of a level with them. Once you leave your body, perhaps that beyond the body, everybody has got that psychic ability, and it's perhaps being filtered in the body we're in.
Well, this is it. Everybody has got this psychic ability, that gut feeling that you feel like a mother or a housewife when a child's late home from school. That is all it. It's all tied in, know. Mm.
Well, imagine, years ago, man would have used those instincts a bit more, especially when they're out hunting and stuff.
They did. It was unbelievable. What it was like in those days.
Well, I saw a program about a tribe, and when they lost somebody, they all basically went into some kind of a sleep, and they found him in the dream state, and then identified where he was. And obviously, you get police forces. You get police forces using psychics.
Yeah.
So it is kind of coming into the world.
Well, that's also brings us into shamanism, doesn't it, Mark? The dream state.
Well, it does. It's a dream state, or it's an altered state of reality and perception. So, we have our conscious minds, and let's face it, we always think that when we're conscious, that's it. We're at the height of our awareness, and that's showing to be not the case. What's going on the subconscious or even the superconscious level is light years ahead of our conscious state, which I actually think, when we're conscious, we're dumb. We're just absolute dumb morons because we're not able to tune in and feel and understand these broader realities. And when we sleep, when we dream, when we meditate and astral travel, you're going beyond the physical consciousness into this altered mental state, different brainwave frequencies to access and experience the broader reality around us.
Well, that's it. Well, I've always thought of, I've always believed for a long time that our conscious being is energy, and therefore I believe that it was never created, it's always been. And I believe that we're just occupying this human body that I'm in, and it's like a biological suit, and you've got like the brain, which goes between you and the body. It's kind of, you think something and then your body can react. You think, I'm going to, you go to walk, and it's almost like your consciousness is sitting in this body. That's what I believe. Because, I've done things where I've left my body and I've suddenly been up on the roof and freaked out and come back down again. I've been up on the ceiling and had a few strange things like that. So I'm more of the belief that we're made of energy, really. And there's a lot more beyond this physical. It's almost like an illusion, really, that we're in a third dimensional illusion. So,
well, if you want to get down to metaphors, the Matrix movie is a perfect example of our reality, or what we perceive to be our reality. You have what the Matrix creates, it's all safe and sound, and then there's beyond that where it's really reality and what's out there. We're experiencing one sliver, one aspect of reality, where our consciousness, our higher self, your soul, your whatever you want to call it, that part of you that operates on a much higher level is actually way smarter than you are and more connected and has access to so much information that, some of it trickles down into our consciousness, and we may have some experiences we may remember, like an out-of-body experience or astral travel experience. For me, I have a lot of dreams, and if there's a mystical quality to the dream, I'll feel that, I'm having some type of event or experience. And, but, even if it seems very dreamlike, but I go with the gut feeling that I get from it that tells me, yeah, this is more than just a dream.
Yeah, well, I since I was little, I've been having a dream about this alternative reality. It's almost like another version of this world. And there's a town and everything. And I've been in several dreams throughout my life where I've been back to this same place. And it's almost like I know it in my dream. And it's really weird. It's got like a railway station. And I had a dream about a month ago of the same place. And I was walking up this cobbled like road, and it had like a stream through it. And I looked to the left, and there was a load of shops, and they seemed to go back for miles. And they had all these like hanging lanterns in them, and it was just so pretty. And I remember thinking in the dream, I remember looking at my hand, and then suddenly realizing that I was in a dream. And then I woke up, and I was like, oh man, I really wanted to carry on with that dream, but I seemed to go back to the same place. So, and one of the dreams, I was up in this kind of high-rise block, and a siren went off, and everyone started running, and I ran with them, and it was like a sheer panic, and I didn't know why they were after, who was after us or anything, but I remember just running in terror in this dream, and I've had that a few times, and it's almost like a futuristic dream, and I still don't know what the significance of it is. So, I think there's a lot more to dreams than just, just a few thoughts. I think there's a lot more going on. I think there's a whole reality, and maybe that whole reality you're going into is much bigger than this, because we're limited by the physical body we're in and the way we can filter what we're seeing and what we're experiencing. So, it's such a wide subject. There's quite a few books been written on this sort of thing, but I think the best thing to do is just try and experience things. Then you know yourself what's real in your reality. But I think everyone's reality is so different. It's very hard, isn't it? Very hard to prove that you're seeing or feeling exactly what everyone else is, and even whether you see the same colour as them. Because say, for instance, you've been looking at the colour red all your life. Somebody could have been looking at the colour black, but they think that's red. So there's no way of actually proving that you're seeing the same colour.
No, that's true.
It's a slightly different variant of it. So,
yeah.
The mysteries of life, it's it's much to think about.
It happens to me all the time, but I only tell Mark if it's something really stands out. Otherwise, I don't bother mentioning it. But Mark, I know Mark does dream a lot. He used to have flying. Yeah, he used to have flying dreams as well.
I miss my flying dreams. I really do.
Yeah. I've had them where I was swimming through the air, flying but swimming, kind of having to keep myself up through swimming. And I've dreams where I've gone blind and I can't see. Very strange ones. Yeah, I haven't had so much of them for a long time. But when I was young, I don't know if I told you this. When I was young, I can't sleep with an alarm clock because the ticking seems to sort of hypnotise me. When I was young, I kept having these. I don't know, it's like a dream. It's like it's really happening. But I kept hearing this like drumming sound, and I kept having the name Georgetown in my mind. And some of my earliest things I said to my dad when I was 2 or 3 years old is, "Where's Georgetown?" And I kept sort of on the point of sleep going into this really scary reality where I could see soldiers with white faces and black hats, and they had red, and they were drumming. And every time I see a marching band, I get this quiver up me. So I started looking into recently Georgetown. There's so many Georgetowns around the world, but I've got a feeling this was like in the 1770s or something. It was somewhere like in America. It's something to do with the Civil War. But, I thought about it for many years, but I was laying in bed about a month ago and the clock was ticking. Well, it wasn't the clock, it was actually a fridge making a ticking sound, and it reminded me of the clock. And just for a minute, I got that experience back again. And I've not had it since I was young. And it started making me think, did I have a past life in Georgetown? So I don't know. It's just something that's always stuck in my mind. I've always believed that I've been here before. And like deja vu, are you shown this life before you enter it? Are you agreeing to live it to get rid of a karmic debt, or are you seeing glimpses of it and then you're remembering these things? The brain is such a full-on thing. It's like an interface between, your higher self and your body almost, isn't it? It's biological spacesuit.
Yeah, but consciously we only use a very minute part of our brain anyway, don't we? So yeah, there's a hell of a lot of stuff. And reincarnation, we've gone into all that before now, haven't we, Mark?
Yeah. I believe it solidly. I don't see it makes sense.
Do you know he's my sister in a previous life?
Who Mark was?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my sister.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. This. I'll keep this brief. I was doing some experimentation with past life regression, and I had the one time it worked for me. I had a vision of being a woman in Boston in the 1800s. And I saw myself in the mirror, and I knew my name. And then we went and did some research, and I found her. And she was a real person. Found out where she was buried, got pictures of her family, and doing some more research, and talking with Irene, we discovered that one of her sisters was Irene.
Yeah, wow. And they found photographs of me in that life, and she's got the same face as I've got now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's why you get a link between some people,
Yeah, and also she wrote a piece about Amalfi in Italy. Well, Amalfi, I go there every year. I've been going there since 1971. It's my most favourite place in the whole world, is Amalfi in Italy. So there was that link, plus the fact that she was a writer, I was a writer, although she won some sort of prize. I can't remember what it was now. What was it, Mark?
You co-wrote an autobiography with another sister on our mother, who was.
Is that the one where she won the prize?
Yes. Then she won the Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah. I've never won a raffle ticket in my life, let alone anything else. And so there were so many similarities to the pair of us, and well, whether it's right or wrong, well, I don't know. I really don't know.
There's a series there on telly in the UK, I don't know if you saw it, where it was kids who were talking about past lives, and they were remembering all sorts of stuff. One of them said he was a Russian sniper, and some of the parents took them to these places to see, if they could find out any truth to it. It's a strange thing. I think more and more people are accepting it, and of course, it features in quite a few religions. The wheel of rebirth. But a lot of people believe in it. I mean, I do. I've always believed I've been here before. There's certain things where I've suddenly thought, I've done this before, I've seen it before.
Oh yeah, deja vu. When you get deja vu, yeah, especially when you get really strong deja vu that you've done something or been somewhere before. But I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it. I really don't. I don't know whether I believe it or I don't believe it. I've it's just one of those mysteries as far as I'm concerned. And the fact that Mark was were you bigger or younger sister? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I'd have to go back and look.
It was the uglier sister. I do remember that. Whether he was or not, I don't know. I really don't know. But we have got this link between us. You know, there is something there that's strong between me and Mark. I don't know why or anything, but I boss him around and he takes it. And, well,
No, I found that with certain people. You know, I've had sort of really strong links. I'm still in touch with people from when I was young at school, and there's a couple of people I keep in touch with, and I've always had this really strong link with them. And sometimes think of them and they'll ring me. So, but yeah, I mean, it's the thing is, the more you think about this kind of stuff, the more it makes your reality a mishmash, and you end up not knowing what to believe anymore. It's like, you know, that's why I've had to take a step back from my Quest for Invisible's work, because my whole reality was going crazy with voices calling me and things happening.
What sort of voices?
It's got too much. I just hear a voice like called, just say Nick, and I'd sit up in bed, you know, and the dog would be sitting up as well, and you know. I'd often hear it. My sister would hear it. My sister would say to me, were you calling me last night? I'm like, no, you know. So you're not going to hear me from where I am, because I'm, not, just next to your house above a garage. And she's like, well, I thought I heard you calling me, and I thought I heard someone walking around, and, you know. And when the dogs were sleeping, because we used to put them in the cage things. They used to like being in the cage. They had their own little cage thing that we put them in, a really big one, just during the evening. And then, Lucy wouldn't go in that cage anymore. And my sister was hearing tappings downstairs. And I do a lot of drumming, tapping around the fingers, and it was like that. And she asked me if I was downstairs tapping. I said, no, what time was it? She says, like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, no, I was in bed by that time. So yeah. But I think, as you say, when you're looking into the invisible, and these beings or these entities, or whatever, they know, I think, and they,
oh, yeah. I tell you, when one comes up to you and it yells in your ear, sorry. That was a bit of Cockney came out there. Yeah. When one comes up to you and yells in your ear, okay, I'll tell you what, it does peeve you off. That happened to me in Italy. Now, you'd think that if it was a spirit or something, it'd come out with something in Italian. But no, I'm in this place in Italy, laying there in bed, and all of a sudden this voice goes straight in my ear, okay. Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah. Well, I found something blow on my ear one night.
I'll tell you another one. I was standing at a bus stop once, and I had a problem over a fella. And I was standing at a bus stop in the middle of London. And there's all these people. You know what it's like. In the UK, everybody queues up for the bus. We're very, very good. We queue up for the bus, and as soon as the bus comes, it's one stampede and elbows flying and knees kicking people up the crutch, but still, we'll queue up for the bus. And I was queuing up for the bus, and someone said in my ear, "It'll be all right, don't worry about it." And I turned around straight away and looked at the person behind me. It was a woman. This was a man's voice. I looked up and down all over the place. Could not see anybody that could have said this, but it was so clear. And it's only when you think about it, you realise that the voice is not in your ear, but it's like inside your head. But it sounds like it's coming through your ear.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've never really sort of experienced that. But Trevor James Constable, in his early days, he started doing a bit of channeling, and he found that his body was being taken over. I mean, one night he woke up in the early hours of the morning, and he didn't have control of his own body, and he ended up walking out into the road and spinning around like he was a robot. And he had a real problem trying to get back his own body, in a sense. Yeah, but he was getting a lot of channeled messages, and they were really good at first, but then they started becoming like contradictory, and he kind of shut that part of it off. It just got too much.
Yeah, I done channeling many years ago and got fed up with it, got bored. So I stopped it as well,
Yeah, I just got to watch my sanity, really, because I've still got to live a pretty straightish life, We've got to live with my sister, and my niece is here a lot. I do a lot with her, and I've got to keep in one foot in the real world, so to speak.
I don't have to watch my sanity. I'm mental.
Again, we all know that.
I really don't care. I don't care what people think about me, what they say about me or anything, It does not worry me, because as far as I'm concerned, if they were talking about me, they're not leaving some poor bugger alone.
Yeah, well, I think you've got to be a certain way to do the stuff you and Mark do, and the stuff I do.
I am very, very hard person, unfeeling, cold on a Mark.
Well, funnily enough, when I appeared on your show last time, I was talking about how I pick animals up in distress. I got an email from a woman saying, "Oh, that's really nice, that you're caring about." And she says, "Oh, yeah, I'm a van driver and I stop and I help animals sometimes." And we exchanged a few emails between us. It was really good, and I got a few more saying I really enjoyed your talk. And I noticed that it was number 3 in the top 10 as well. So, there's been a few people listening to it.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of people out there, similar-minded people,
I am a big softie when it comes to animals. I absolutely, totally love animals, but people bore the shit out of me. They really do.
Yeah. Well, I don't go out that.
Not all people. Don't get me wrong, not all people. The majority of them.
I've barely been out. I've barely left the house for 15 years. I only go out to walk the dog.
I don't even care whether I see a person from one day to the next. I really don't. The people just do not interest me. I don't know what it is or why I'm like it. I am so cold.
Yeah, well, I get a sort of psychic connection with my pets. Especially with Roy and with Elfie, and it's on a totally different level, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'd kill anyone that touched my animals. I really would. But even Pickles pee with the parrot, the mad parrot I've got. Yeah. anyone that touches that little basket case, I'll do the same. But would you say I'm different, Mark?
Oh, in every possible way.
Would you say I am cold and nasty?
You can be.
Yeah,
You're warmer than you give yourself credit for.
Yeah. Well, you're very sensitive. The thing is, when you're very sensitive to a lot of this phenomena and stuff, it just changes your personality.
Yeah, I think you have to be very hard. If you're doing it like I've been in the business now, professionally for over 50 years. So if you're
50?
doing,
50 years.
Yeah, over 50 years.
Gosh, wow.
I'm old. I am old.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You don't sound it. I thought you were sort of just perhaps 10 years older than me or something. You don't sound old.
How old are you?
I'm 52.
Well, I am 10 years old, a bit more than 10 years older than you, but that's it.
Yeah. Oh wow.
But I'm 68 this year.
Really?
There you go, people. I'm 68 this year. Haven't got any wrinkles.
I'm looking at a picture of you now.
No brown spots, and I do look like that picture that you're looking at. That's what I look like. And
wow.
Yeah. I dye my hair. Because obviously it would be grey if I didn't dye my hair. But I think for my age I don't look too bad, But you
don't sort of change in the mind, though, do you? I still feel like I'm 25. In the head sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like an 18-year-old. I am.
Yeah.
The stupid things I get up to. But the point is, it does make you hard. When you've been in this business for so long, you do get hard. You do get uncaring. You do get... It's a form of survival and defence, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've doubted my sanity quite a lot over the last 2 years. When I was getting full-on stuff happening, it was just like, oh, my God, But I feel a lot more grounded now since I stopped doing the filming and stopped sort of going out there, and sitting in the forest. I will go back to that again, but I just feel I need a break from it so I can sort of, see where I'm at in my head, really, because it just gets too much.
I retired a couple of years ago, handed the reins over to Mark, so I don't do any investigations or anything now. I do the radio and that's it, and I'm quite happy doing that.
Well, it's very time-consuming when you're doing investigations. I mean, as Mark was saying, you go out and film for 6-7 hours, you've got to look back through it all. Sometimes it takes weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent years going through footage just to find, one image sometimes. But, that's what keeps it going. And there's people all around the world doing this. I mean, I've had a few people contact me that are doing something similar to me. Not all of them are using infrared. Some are using normal cameras. But a guy came over from Bristol that I got chatting with. He came over, spent a day over here with me, looking at my techniques and showing me some of his footage. And it's really good. It's nice to meet other people. But I don't really go out a lot, really. I kind of tend to live in my own little world. And I prefer it like that, really. I don't know. So I just want a quiet life, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I just want to know what's going on behind the scenes, So that's what pushes me. I just want to keep backing up Trevor's work of the 50s and keep proving that he was right on track with his work. And And I meet some very interesting people, mostly, via these shows and things. People bring up and say, "Oh, I saw you on the show. I was really interested," and it's great. I'm getting quite a few emails from around the world.
I think what you're doing is absolutely brilliant, because it is something that is not really that known. You've got hundreds and hundreds of blooming paranormal investigators out there going into houses and looking for grandma's spirit and God knows what else, or the nearest demon. But what you're doing is something different.
Yeah, well, it kind of changed because I started off filming kind of UFO-y sort of things, and then I started getting the paranormal stuff, and it was great, and it's just kind of expanded it, the whole thing for me, and it's made it more interesting.
Yeah.
But also I've got a book by the GRCU, which is called UFO La Realtà Nascosta, which is Italian. It means UFO, the hidden reality, and they've got a lot of pictures in there of invisible mists and strange entities and things, and but they were doing that back in the 70s, the early 80s. So I kind of continuing on with that using the Geiger counter, but it's just hard to know where to go out. Sometimes I think, should I film in the infrared? Should I film ultraviolet? Should I use sun obliteration technique? Should I do this, or should I go out at night and use the Geiger counter? There's a whole load of different ways of filming, and this is what I've tried to put over in my book, Quest for Invisibles. I've talked about the various methods that I use, and talked all about Trevor James Constable's work and about the GRCU. And there's a few other people's work in there as well that I've talked about. A couple of other people's, like the Gregory Harold, the guy that the American guy that I got chatting to, that had filmed these little beings coming down into his garden. Via some kind of a tube. It looked like they were coming from another reality. Very, very strange. So there's a lot of people out there doing it, a lot of people looking into it. And, and the TV's dominated by it. There's so many ghost programs like Ghost Brothers, Ghost Hunters, Ghost this, Ghost that. The world's going, looking into it more. And people want to communicate with the dead, all sorts of stuff. So, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but in some ways. But I believe there's certain things you shouldn't do, really. But there you go,
Well, I don't do that sort of thing. I did do mediumship in the early years, but I think it was just a learning curve that I had to go through to move on to the next stage and my abilities or whatever,
Yeah. Have you ever done much with a Ouija board? Have you used Ouija boards or anything?
No. Oh, when I was a kid.
Yeah, me as well once, but never again.
Yeah, when I was a kid, me and my sisters, what we done, we cut up pieces of paper, put them in a circle with all the letters on, put a glass in the middle, finger on the glass, and of course that flew off the table and smashed against the wall, just as my father walked in the room and gave me a clip round the ear. You don't do that in my house. Bang.
I've heard some really negative stuff from people that have done it, and they've ended up having to get people in to try and clear the things. Because I believe, you open up a portal, I think, with them.
Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah. You're inviting, because what they do is they say, welcome. If somebody's there, you're welcome. Come in, talk to us, this, that, and the other. You're opening up the blooming door, aren't you? You're allowing it. Sort of thing.
Well, that's it. Well, in the Christian view, there are only demons. A lot of people are saying, these beings, these interdimensional beings, are sort of more demonic type things, and I tend to think that some of them perhaps are.
Well, no, they start off as your dear old granny with her knitting and everything, and they give a bit of, calming effect to you, so you start welcoming them in and one thing or another. The next thing, they're raging loony bloody demons flying around your house with blooming flagpoles stuck up their backsides. But it's not something that I would advise.
Well, no, I think I watched that program, The Evil Dead, when I was younger, when it came out on video, and I think that sort of put me off doing that kind of thing.
Well, swallow your soul.
Yeah, it's pretty full on, wasn't it? In the early days of video recorders, but yeah.
That's another thing that it would bore me. I think absolutely bore me.
Groovy.
I'd rather watch paint dry, I think.
Yeah. No, I've got to watch it. I try and do certain things certain times. I try not to be full on into Quest for Invisibles, whereas I used to walk around constantly with a Geiger counter. I'd go into Oxford in the daytime and have a Geiger counter in one hand and a camera around the neck.
Yeah,
constantly looking, and I've had to stop doing that because your whole reality just becomes totally...
Well, this is it. You've got to ground yourself. You've got to have times for this, to do whatever you're doing, and then time to be normal and do normal stuff. If you don't do that, you will crack.
Well, I've got
You
a
will
bit of
crack up, I
OCD
tell
sort of
you.
stuff. A bit of OCD kicks in, but it helped me to do the book. It helped me to learn Arabic, so it's quite handy. But I can't
Oh,
switch
you
off. I either
speak
do something or I
Arabic?
don't. Well, I did Arabic for several years. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, you want to get in touch with MI6? They'd like you.
Well, no, they would have been in touch with me, mate. Though I had them cars watching me. I think that was involved with them. But no, yeah. But yeah, no, I was only because my sister lived out in Cairo and I'm really into Egyptian music. So I started getting Egyptian music and I just wanted to be able to talk to my friends in Cairo in Arabic. So
Yeah.
I did. I think I mentioned this on the last show, but I did went to college and then I did a course at Oxford University for 3 years. But yeah, I can speak it and read and write it. Not totally fluently, but I'm a bit rusty now because I haven't done it for a few years. But it comes back to me, and there's a couple of friends that speak Arabic, and we have a little natter now and then. So, but it's all good for expanding the mind, I think. But it also makes people very suspicious of you, and this is why I had a lot of problems. When my kit got held in American airport, and they were like watching me and stuff. Strange stuff was going on. I've talked about that in a few videos. But I never knew whether that was because of the UFO thing or whether they thought because I'd learned Arabic I was somehow kind of, going against the status quo, which I'm not, obviously. So, but yeah, no, it's a strange world. It's full of paranoia, isn't it? And it's hard to know what's real and what's not. Really, I mean, even this internet reality is just there on a screen. Once you switch your computer off, it's like it's not there, is it? It's like a virtual reality where things are existing and it does have a knock-on effect into this physical reality, Yeah. It's strange. I sometimes think, God, I try and work out what's going on, what is reality, and it's very hard sometimes. It can get quite full on, and I say you need to take a break, take a step back.
Yeah,
from
you
it.
do. You do definitely need your own space, your own time to ground yourself,
Yeah, no, that's very important.
Yeah. Spend a few hours a day doing one thing, and then the rest of the time watch Coronation Street, EastEnders, or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Cup of tea, few biscuits, Garibaldi biscuits. Yeah.
Stargate.
Yeah.
No, I watch Star Trek, and I like the Stargate sort of things, the offshoots from Stargate. I just find it sort of easy to watch and not too taxing on the mind. And so yeah, I do. I mean, most of the things I watch on telly are documentaries, and they're always to do with UFOs and stuff. So I'm constantly watching those sort of things and that. So but it's just hard to switch off when you have an interest in something, especially when you've been getting results with the camera. I just kind of always think, perhaps I'll go out with the camera. I would have caught something, and all the stuff I've caught. I thought, well, if I hadn't bothered to film that day, I wouldn't have caught it, and I wouldn't have a book. So I've got to keep pushing myself to keep going out there and doing it. But it's finding that balance, really.
Yeah, you do have to find that balance. Don't you agree, Mark?
Absolutely. You have to ground yourself once in a while. And with that grounding, it helps, because if you get caught up too much in something, then you start losing your sense of reality. And you can become obsessed or open yourself up too much to other things. So,
I definitely agree. That's why I enjoy chatting on these radio shows, because it's good to get some of it out and actually talk about it. Because most of the time I don't really talk to anyone about this kind of stuff. It's all in my head, really. So it's good to go and do my talks that I do and talk on radio shows. It's good. I feel a lot better when I've done it, and I found people like yourselves who have experienced a lot of strange stuff as well. It makes me feel not as crazy, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
Maybe you're not as crazy, but I'm bloody raving loony, I am. And Mark's a right nutter too.
I just don't go around admitting it every 5 minutes like you do.
Oh, admit it, mate. Yeah.
We all go mad sometimes.
Especially us two.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a very fine line between sanity and insanity, to be quite honest. I probably walked that line most of my life, especially being in a band and that. But I discovered it more, through Quest of Invisibles. I opened up a whole reality that I didn't really know existed, and it's like really overwhelming. I looked for some things and found other things, and I was like, oh my God, because a lot of the stuff I filmed doesn't make sense. You get strange things. We've got that look like fish swimming through the sky, and like jellyfish type creatures, and it's like, oh my God.
I've seen that in this house.
Yeah, there's some strange stuff out there, but it's just a perceptual thing. I think it's just the way you perceive it. I mean, some of these Indian yogis and that, they spend their whole lives, meditating and doing stuff. They're again on a totally different level. Like, in the old scripts it talks about them, these vimanas, these flying machines. It talks about them spiritual vimanas that these people created in their minds and brought in from the higher planes into the dense matter plane. I did some strange stuff. I'm always discovering other things all the time.
Yeah.
And I think, oh, I'll have to get that book or this and that. But it's a lot of information to take in sometimes, and there's only so many hours in the day. That's the problem.
Well, this is it. It's healthy to learn, but you still got to remember to relax and to have time for yourself. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You really have. And kind of cut off from it, completely cut off from it. That's what I do.
See, for me, it comes and goes. You know, like most of my life, I'm doing the average day-to-day stuff, and then once in a while, it's punctuated by something strange or paranormal or unexplained. So I'm not dealing with it on a daily basis. I don't live in a haunted house, unlike you, and but occasionally when things happen, you know, then I pay more attention to it because of my experiences. And also, you know, when we talked about what's crazy, what's sane, from a shamanic perspective, something I've been learning about the last several months is, you know, you want to talk about the fine line. Our society defines certain conditions as being crazy, whether it's severe depression, whether it's bipolarism, even some forms of psychotic behavior. Is it really a mental illness, or is it an expanded or altered type of reality? Let's face it, people who hear voices for many years were locked up in the loony bin for hearing voices. They're called schizophrenic, when maybe they're actually a medium. And they're picking up on other voices.
Exactly.
It's a matter of perspective.
That's what I was thinking. I was wondering, you know, there might be entities trying to enter into their bodies and stuff, rather than them having multiple personalities themselves. It could be various entities. They could be channeling. And so, yeah, no, I've strongly suspected that for a long time. And the more and more I watch these programs and listen to people's EVPs and things and hear about strange things, the more I'm realizing that there is so much going on, and perhaps, you know, these things aren't as they seem. But obviously the medical world doesn't recognise a lot of these things.
Neither does science.
Well, no, that's the thing. But, you know, there are people out there that are starting to pay attention, especially with the dawn of the internet. It's giving more people a chance to share their experiences, and I think it's a positive thing in many ways, you know, the internet. But, well, I mean, there's a lot of bad things about it, I suppose. But it's good that people can share the stories and talk about things. You hear stories from all around the world about the latest discoveries. Like, you know, Brian Foster's work, you know, I would never have known anything about that if it wasn't for the internet. And that's something that really interests me.
True. Yeah, that's true. Now, we're coming up to the end, aren't we, Mark?
Yes, we are. So, Nick, mention again the conference that you have, the appearance you're going to be making coming up.
Yeah, this is at the Cornwall UFO Research Group's 21st annual conference, which is being held in Truro on Saturday the 13th of October. The doors open at 9 a.m. First talk's 9:50 a.m. and it goes on till 6:30. There's myself, Nick Hayes, and there's Neil Geddes-Ward, Guy Needler and Cass Clark, the main speakers. And it's held in the lecture theatre at the Truro College. Tickets are £30 on the door, or £26 in advance. But yeah, that should be a good weekend. I'm going down there for a couple of days. I'm going down there on the Friday and coming back on the Sunday.
Is it the whole weekend then, Nick?
No, it's just an all-day event, but because I'm travelling up from Oxford, I've got to get down there late Friday, and I'll be staying in a hotel. They're putting me in a hotel, and then I'll do the conference, then go out for a meal with everyone afterwards, and then come back Sunday. But no, it's good. It's furthest afield I've been really to do a talk, but I'm just glad they're interested in what I've got to say, because a lot of the UFO groups aren't really that interested in my work at all. As I said before, this is a problem Trevor James Constable had, you know. They just want shiny discs. They're not interested in anything that could be biological.
That's the problem with MUFON over here in the U.S. is they're more interested in nuts and bolts craft, and they don't want to acknowledge the other types of things that people see in the skies. Yep.
Okay, and your book. Oh, sorry, Mark.
No, I was going to do the same thing. You go right ahead. Your
book, The Quest for the Invisibles, can be found at...
Yeah, if you just go to Amazon, you'll find it. It's being sold by Waterstones.com and also BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, Amazon.co.uk. There's quite a few booksellers. If you just Google Nick Hayes Quest for the Invisibles, you'll find a whole load of places that are selling the book.
And you're at a website, Quest for the Invisibles?
Yeah, questinvisibles.co.uk, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also got some footage. I've got a Quest for Invisibles YouTube channel as well. But it all comes up if you Google Quest for Invisibles, Nick Hayes or whatever. So
yeah, many of those photographs that we spoke about on the show today are on your website.
Oh, there's a whole selection, infrared and ultraviolet. There's entities on. I've got a section, an evidence section, which shows some of the entities, some of the other strange things, like the invisible mist, and then some of these skyfish type creatures. Yeah, there's a whole selection on there. Yeah, and that's 8 years' work for me. So that's why I'm having a little break as well. So just enjoying the fruits of my labour also.
Yeah.
We're doing shows and that, so it's great. It's good stuff. Yeah.
Well, Nick, thank you very much for coming on the program. It's great having you back on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you, Mark. Thanks.
Right, and we can be found everywhere, people.
Yep. So tune in every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. here on the Paranormal UK Radio Network, and we will catch you all next week. Irene, have a great week.
Okay, night, everyone.
Yeah, I'll just remember, Nick with the K, by the way, as well.
N-I-K. Nick.
N-I-K. Nick
Okay.
Hayes, yeah.
Okay, we got
Thanks a lot, you guys. All right, I'll catch you soon.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.